of you wanting to fire me for this one. Did I tell you how great you look today? We're going to try and keep this to 10 minutes because we don't want to eat into lunch too much. So please welcome back to the stage Rob, Kriti, Renee, and Mark.
So first of all, fantastic talk by all of you. Just great. Thank you. All right, so I got to drop into this. We got 10 minutes. So one question for all of you. Maybe we'll start with Kriti. If you were to start this journey again today, what would you do differently in terms of how you get started and strategies maybe you deployed? We got a lot of people here who are new to this. They probably look at your slides and say, wow, how do I ever get there? What are some things you would say you might do differently?
First thing I think, like where we started, is probably like where I would have done it anyway. So it's like start small, experiment, try out new things, because you're not going to know what you don't know until you start. What I want to do differently now and accelerate actually is to do deeper and quicker and faster product integration. Because the moment something ships from our factory and leaves the door, I want to create a digital experience for a customer right there at that time. And that's a very, very hard thing to get done at HP right now. So that would be the biggest thing that I would look at now for transformation. And we should have done it 5 years ago.
Right. That's great. Renee, just a quick one for you. I'm still fascinated by this unified profile vision that you talked about. And I think a lot of people here imagine that they could create something like that for their business. And one of the questions I had is, as you started to do that, what discoveries did you have about members that maybe led you to think about new business lines that USAA may be and that you didn't anticipate having at the beginning?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm not going to answer it because it's proprietary, but I will tell you this.
Without naming the business lines.
I will tell you this. As I mentioned in the presentation, there's a very rich amount of information and insight that pipes through, and it's very important to put the proper techniques in place and applications in place to separate noise from value. And the team, to the credit of the team, we have several patents pending in this regard, and I think being able to extract the right insights, not just data, right? Because often, I would say 3 years ago, we were data rich, but insight poor. And I think today, if you fast forward to today and where we're headed, we've been very skillful and purposeful and intentional about, again, separating the ground noise from what really matters the most to serving our membership.
That's great. I won't push you to say anything that'll get you in trouble. Mark, so Microsoft is now running multiple communities across its business, Skype having been the first to really pave the way. What types of things do you see possible in terms of unifying data across the business lines around community? And have you guys been having any of those discussions about that?
Yeah, we have, and I think first and foremost, I think we need to get to a square of unifying ourselves and our customers internally. So actually, you know, I think about identity management across Microsoft and moving from looking at the user of Skype to looking at the customer of Microsoft in the realm. So actually connecting Skype usage to Xbox usage, connecting Xbox usage to Office 365 usage. And then taking that sort of holistic opinion about what that customer is based on the status as a customer of Microsoft. And then looking them in that lifetime value, really, where actually, while you can exist and have amazing experiences on Skype for free, you know that you have a subscription to a service or you've just bought an Xbox. And if you connect the dots mentally yourself, which a lot of customers do, then actually you want to be treated based on your value to the company, not your usage of a particular product. So for me, I would like to think about how we express that in the round and then start to bring those stories together on behalf of the customer of Microsoft rather than the user of Skype.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. All right, Kriti, back to you. So I get one more question for each of you, and unfortunately with so many people here, we're not going to be able to take questions from the audience, so they can swarm each of you after. But So international expansion is a big part of your social care program. You talked about moving to Asia and some of the experiences you had in China. What insight could you give people here who are looking at global expansion? You talked about new networks and messaging services like WeChat and other things, but what were some of the other things you experienced, and how did you tackle those culturally, or different geos?
Yeah, so not all markets obviously are the same. Not all customers are behaving the same way. Even with our own communities, we see that there's much greater adoption, obviously in global English as a language, versus what we would see in China and Korea. So the volumes there are much, much lower. So trying to encourage people to use a channel that may not be a natural fit for them was something that we learned. And we said, okay, well, this is sort of the adoption of our communities, and we're not going to scale back on the investment, because I still think there's a place for our communities to complement our social care offering. However, given Solomo, given the adoption of WeChat as an application in China, is there a different experience that we can create? And the same thing went for Japan and for Korea that we were looking at. Where are customers actually going, and what channels are they using? And can we create a more frictionless, seamless experience for them on that channel of their choice? And so understanding the capabilities of each of these social networks, their respective strengths as well, how different they are versus Facebook Messenger or Twitter, those were some of the things that we learned. Understanding customer behavior and preference and choice was another. Tying back in our case into the contact center environment and understanding why are people calling, and people are calling for different reasons in different regions, right? Because our delivery model of support and services in China is very different from the US. So just by understanding that as an example, helped connect the dots in our head as well to say, let's go and try this. Let's go get it up and running. And there were technology challenges as well. So today, let's say, there's no engagement tool out there that allows us to respond to customers at scale on WeChat. We invested and we built our own. You have that from me, right? So we went and built our own. We just said, let's go put money behind it because this is important for that particular market. And so those are just some examples of things we looked at: process, technology, adoption, customer base, security. There was a whole bunch of different things that go in.
That's great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And you guys have been very successful with it. Obviously, when I looked at that chart, that was amazing in terms of the growth you've had across all the communities you're in, the language support. It's terrific. But I imagine there were a few challenges along the way.
Of course.
Yeah.
Plenty.
So, okay, Renee, I'm going to try this question a little different way. Because I really am fascinated by unified profile. When you think about insights that you may have discovered, so you showed a great example of being able to match a service person with their service dog through this, conversation that happened on Facebook. When you think about insights that gave you more perspective on the member that you didn't enter into it thinking you would get, and that you came out of it realizing you had, what might be an example of some of those? Not so much to develop a new business line, but maybe just a new dimension of somebody that you realized, wow, I never would have captured this about this person if I hadn't built the unified profile in this way.
Great question. So I think on the surface, when we think about data and insights on a given member or customer, and many of our other use cases in the audience, there's the obvious of what's in it for the line of business, but I think what we've been able to do is effectively utilize the learning and the insights on an aggregated level to benefit the membership. Point in case, fraud detection, and being able to detect and identify threats to our members' financial security and proactively getting involved and or stopping those, and in most cases preventing those. We've saved members and the association millions of dollars in that regard. And so I think
that's great.
Fraud detection is probably the most immediate example. And then we've had fascinating examples of all sorts of aha moments where members were able to support other members, a member potentially going homeless, 12 members automatically to the rescue, saying, we've got you, call this number, and again, taking care of one another. So
Those are great.
It's been fascinating in that regard.
Great. Thank you for sharing.
Storm
this.
threats as well, catastrophes, being able to geo-target and identify where members are that may be in harm's way, and proactively notifying them through use of social.
That's great. All right, although the clock says we're running out of time, I got one more question for you, Mark. He's going to answer this in 20 seconds. So when you think about, you guys now have 4 million members in the community, and you made a comment yesterday that you feel like the 0 to 80% has gone really fast for you. It's that last 20% that's really the difficult part. What are some of the strategies Skype as a business is taking to go after that last remaining complexity in the customer experience piece?
Yeah, I think having it integrated into all the clients is going to be super helpful. We obviously want to look at the way that we could use automation or bots to be able to kind of create a much tighter loop with community. And then I think making part of the, not necessarily the sign-up flow, but the ongoing maintenance and management of the user contextual to the community, and actually demonstrate the value add of that peer-to-peer muscle that will be better trained the more people that participate in it. You know, it's almost like the opposite end of machine learning. The more we can put in, the better the community will be, and the more healthy it will be, and the more learning we can give back to the organization.
That's great. Thank you, all three of you. Terrific presentations. Thanks a lot.